Morning, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome to the podcast. I've got Rob Wentz from Pennsylvania. He is an entrepreneur. He's going to talk about leadership and technology today. And I'm really happy to have him on our show. He does a lot of coaching for clients, and I'm really happy to have him on. So, Rob, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It's a good way to start the week.
Yeah, we were just joking about Monday. Briefly introduce yourself, and we will dive right into the conversation.
Sure. So many different things, I guess you could say that I am, but my professional job, I'm a leadership communication coach. I help people, organizations, teams, and companies become better communicators with themselves and with others so they can become better leaders for themselves and for others. I think everything in life professionally comes back to personal, right? So we've got to get the personal stuff right with us to get the professional stuff right with our team, with our organization, or if we're a solopreneur, with our business. So I help people find that alignment between themselves and their professional life, and communication and leadership are at the top of that list.
Yeah, really fascinating. And we'll dive right into the questions. And first thing is because I've always studied leadership and management because it's something I never really fully understood, but it's personality and relationships. What are the most common barriers to effective leadership communication, and how can someone overcome?
Yeah, some of the biggest barriers to being a great leader is thinking that you've got to tell everybody what to do. That might be the biggest thing, right? Is like having this idea that I need to be controlling everybody and making sure they're doing what I tell them. The flip of that, the servant leadership mentality, comes from turning the pyramid of what a business would look like on its head. At the bottom, you have the grunt workers, and then it goes itself up the pyramid to the top echelon where there's one person at the top, and flipping that upside down, because in that pyramid, the person at the top thinks that everybody underneath them has to serve them. If you flip it, the person who's at the top is now at the bottom, and they have to serve everybody else. And so looking at that in that way is still in our society a nuanced way of looking at it. The people who get it right see massive change in their life and in their business, because now they see, wow, since I'm the one in charge, I should be going to everybody that is on my team and finding out how I can best help them, how I can best serve them, not waiting for them to come to me in the ivory tower so I can yell at them, but going to them and asking them what they need, and really being the hands and feet of the business, of the company. And this is how it should be, like, if you want to put it in a smaller example of a family, right? If you're the head of your household, you shouldn't be rolling over your household with an iron fist. You should be finding how can you best connect with the people in your household, collaborate with them, understand what they need so that you can help to meet those needs. And through that, there's so many different avenues you can go down on that, but that's the general idea, is being of service to everybody and not being the tyrant who's waiting for everybody to serve you.
Yeah, I really love that, and I know it really resonates with a lot of the way I see leadership. One thing we talk about is why is a lot of leadership right now based on hierarchy, seniority, or and you see a lot of lack of integrity, lack of morals, and why is that?
There's many different reasons as to why. It's natural to, when you're in charge of people, want to take charge of them and control what they're doing, right? So it's just a natural human thing to control people and to establish your dominance and to prove your dominance and to just roll over people with an iron fist is the best way I can think about it. So I think it just naturally happens in business and in life in general. And the more stressed out we are, the more overworked we are, the less resources that we have, the less perceived help that we have, it exacerbates that issue, right? So when we live in a culture that is go and achieve and not putting people first, but putting profits first, then that's naturally what's going to happen. When the numbers have to keep increasing every quarter, but that doesn't mean that the quality of care of the people that you're serving or the people that work for you are also on the top of that list of, yeah, we need to make more money, but we also need to serve people better. When it's just the money algorithm and not the servant algorithm, then you're going to run into some major issues. And I think those issues just compile on top of each other. And when nobody is reprimanded, when in fact they are celebrated for constant growth at the behest of everything else that should be happening, then you're just going to get more of the same thing, right? So until we decide on an individual level, so then we can go back to the individual, right? It really comes down to us as individuals and working on ourselves and understanding that we need to be leading our own lives. And in order to lead my own life, I have to lead a life of integrity. And what is integrity? So integrity to me is keeping the promises that I know I've made to myself. And I think that oftentimes we know the right things to do, but we ignore those things because it's going to be inconvenient for us, or it's going to be painful for us, or it might cause us to lose money or lose stature, right? So the more we ignore those things we know we should be doing, self-deceive ourselves, right? There's a great book called Leadership and Self-Deception. And in that book, it talks about this concept of keeping the promises to yourself that you know you should do for others. And the more you keep those promises for yourself and for others, the more you are going to be a leader and the less you are going to deceive yourself. The less you deceive yourself, the more congruent you are with yourself. And the more congruent you are with yourself, that builds your self-worth, your integrity, and your self-esteem. If I love myself and I am in have integrity for myself, then I'm going to have integrity for other people. But if I don't love myself and I cut corners with myself, then I'm naturally just going to do that with others. So really it all comes back to us and our personal relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, so well said. And furthermore, driving more into that idea is that you talk about maintaining integrity, and how difficult is it to maintain integrity, and how does it impact leadership effectiveness in the long run? And what I mean by that is sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself for others, but then a lot of people don't do that. So provide examples from your coaching experience.
I'll ask you that question. How often do you keep promises to yourself? Like on a regular daily basis, are you keeping all the promises to yourself that you know you should be doing?
I try to maintain morals and integrity with myself, especially in terms of sleeping and exercise and eating. I think that's really the basis on your morning habit as well. But how about yourself?
Yeah, yeah, and I try the best that I can. We're all doing the best that we can. We all can do better. And if I'm doing that for me, then I'm going to do that for others. So if there's not high integrity in the business, it's most likely because the people on top of that business are not in their own private life who they know they should be. And I know that sounds like simplistic or maybe like a cop out, but that seems to be the way that it is. I know that's very true for myself. There's an organization that I'm close with that the people at the top of that organization are a bit controlling. They are not the greatest communicators. They seem to skirt around having difficult conversations, right? And what kind of people do you think they bring into that organization? They bring people in like them, right? So if there's inherent character flaws from the people who are running something at the top, then they're going to bring in people with character flaws. Not say we all have character flaws in one way, shape, or form. Nobody's perfect. But if you're really working on yourself and being aware of these things and having people in your life that help to bring these things to awareness, then you're going to make less of those mistakes. But you're going to probably bring people around you that are either like you or people around you that will help you grow. And I really feel in a lot of organizations, a person who's wanting to control things will bring around people that they can control, number one. And then also people that are like them that like to control other people, right? So I think it trickles down from the top. And that's why I say the person who's in charge, their integrity, their own personal leadership and self-awareness of their own life is essentially the most important thing. Because if you get that, then you're going to bring in the right people and you're going to get the right people that are going to treat other people right. And as you grow, you're going to have less and less of these issues. But if you don't work on that stuff for yourself and you don't have a sounding board of people who are going to hold you to the fire, then you're going to see this kind of stuff happen over and over again. So there's tons of examples of that. I think we all could point to examples of that in our own personal life and professional life. But it's oftentimes the things I see the most are leaders who don't want to get involved in the infighting going on in the company. They separate themselves and put themselves above it so maybe they can ignore it. And they try to stay away from the major issues. And if they do confront a major issue, it's usually in a controlling or domineering kind of way instead of in a communicative, collaborative kind of way, helping people grow. And when you help somebody grow, the best part of that is they might grow in your organization, but if they're not right for your organization, you can help them grow out of your organization. But you have to have those conversations, have that communication, and have that connection. I hope that answered your question. I feel like that's the best way I can identify that.
Yeah. And the next question I have for you is, how can individuals learn to be more authentic in their personal and professional lives? A lot of times I've noticed in the corporate setting is people have to put on a mask and have to, stay along party lines, and they have to be politically correct. So how can people reduce this amount of fakeness?
Oh, geez. I'll go back to it. Starts with you. Who do you want to be? How desperate are you for that job that you have? The best way to be authentic, I think this, I'm just going to speak from personal experience. I started getting more authentic the less I needed the job that I had. So the more I trained myself, the more I dug into personal development and built my own platform. I was in radio broadcasting for 20 years, right? So that was a large portion of my life. Loved what I did, didn't like necessarily the people that I worked for, not individuals, just the way the company ran. And during that period of time, I never was in personal development. So I was stuck with whatever they gave me, I was going to have to take. Whatever came my way from that job or another job, I had to take that because I didn't believe in myself. But as I started to grow, me personally, I started to build my integrity and my skill sets and align myself with not who I thought I was supposed to be, but really who I was supposed to be, where my skills were, where my strengths were, doubling down on those things and building my confidence in that area, the less I needed that job. So it was interesting. I actually worked myself out of a job by growing myself, where I could then start my own business. Now, I could have stayed at that job and been an entrepreneur and worked my way up through the ranks there because of the new mindset and skill sets that I had. But that wasn't going to bring me satisfaction. And so I knew I had to leave and I had to go do something else on my own. Now, was that easier than just staying at the job? No, it was definitely not easier. Staying at that job was pretty easy. It wasn't satisfying or fulfilling or the things that I needed, but it was easy. Going out my own was not easy, but it was definitely a catalyst to just increase personal and professional growth year over year. There's the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is putting the work in to be the person you know you want to be. The pain of regret is knowing you need to be somebody else, but you're comfortable where you're at right now. And even though it's not the greatest thing in the world, you're just going to stay there. I encourage anybody, this is not a quick fix band-aid kind of thing. This is like going back and building yourself up as an incredible person who knows who they are, who has high integrity, who knows what their strengths are. Because when you know what your strengths are and you have integrity for yourself, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to get a great job. It doesn't matter what business you want to build, you'll know the right business to build. You'll know what job to go after because you know yourself and you have integrity for yourself. And so that is the real separating factor that will take you from the place you are now to the place that you want to be. Because there's the old expression, wherever you go, there you are. You might go to the most beautiful place in the world, but you're still stuck with you whenever you're there. You might get the greatest job in the world, but if you're not right with yourself, you're stuck with you at that incredible job, and it's eventually going to fall apart. Improving on yourself, making yourself better is going to make you better wherever you go. That's my advice.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many golden nuggets in that response. I know stories of people, my colleagues are doctors, lawyers, and there was like a great salary, but it's eating them up inside because they know they're supposed to be doing something else, or they're just like working for a company and just helping the company. So the next question I have for you is,
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working for a company and making a good living there. So I'm not saying everybody has to go out on their own, but as you grow personally as a human being, you're naturally going to be drawn away from things and drawn to other things. That might mean in the company you stay there because you love what you do, or you're drawn to do something else. Everybody's different in that regard. Yeah, I just don't want to give the impression like build yourself up and improve yourself, so you're just going to leave the job you're at, 'cause it might not be, everybody's different, right? It's a different path for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So well said. How do you see leadership changing, especially in this era of artificial intelligence and you've got digital platforms, remote work?
Are you asking how is leadership changing in that regard?
Yeah.
I'm a part of an organization called BNI, Business Networking International. It's a global organization, a networking referral group run by Ivan Meisner. Incredible organization. I love it. I love BNI. It's been very helpful for my business. And there's core values in BNI. One of the core values is traditions plus innovation, right? Which I love that, because traditions are traditions, like cliches are cliches. Why is it cliche? Because it's probably true. A tradition is a tradition, most likely because it's probably true. It has some sort of lasting impact. What our culture seems to tend to do is choose innovation over tradition. It's, we're going to go towards the new shiny thing. We're going to chase AI and leave tradition behind, right? The answer is in the two. Leadership doesn't change. Leadership's been, I go back to the Bible. Jesus, perfect example of a servant leader. The examples of leadership are as old as human beings are. So those things don't change. They're always going to be the same. Social media, AI, all the different technologies that come out and distract us are tools. We can either let them use us or we can use them to our advantage. And so, how does it change things? I don't think we can get more done in less time. I love using Chat GPT to help me brainstorm and come up with ideas. People use it to create art or whatever you're using AI for. It's to build CRMs, to build amazing systems. It can help to speed up the process of something that once took a lot longer. But at the same time, the tenets of great leadership will never change, because people are people, and people don't really change as far as what our needs are and how we can help each other. This right now is cool. Talking over StreamYard, doing this podcast is cool, but it still pales in comparison to having a real in-person conversation with somebody. This is good. It's helpful. It's better than not being able to do it, but we can't lose sight of the things that have always worked, because we were designed for things to work a certain way. And so I just go back to that. I just go back to traditions plus innovation. The traditions of leadership will never change. Use the innovations in conjunction with to make the traditions stronger. Don't use the innovations to leave the traditions behind. And I think that's what we see in our society, right? We use social media as a way to communicate, but we leave out the traditional ways of communication. You can't communicate important, complex, or sensitive ideas through text. It just doesn't work. You can't communicate ideas to have a conversation with one-way videos, right? You have to have collaboration. Bringing those two together is it's like using the innovation to support the tradition. So using AI to support your leadership, not in place of. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I love that. And next question I have for you is the idea, because you mentioned faith and a lot of, again, I'm spiritual, I'm not a religious, but talk about how leaders can use spirituality and faith in their leadership to lead people, inspire people, have a sense of moral integrity, all of that.
I think that I don't know what every religious or spiritual practice believes, because I have not studied all of them, but I've studied a few of them. And it all comes back to, love your neighbor as yourself, love people. And where do you go wrong there? Where do you go wrong with wanting to have a sound mind? And a sound mind means you can think clearly. And if you are a believer, the voice of God is going to speak to you. The Holy Spirit is going to speak to me. And what are the tenets of that? So love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Who's going to be against any of those things? If you are of those things, then you are going to be unstoppable, because you are truly, your heart is set on helping people, serving people, but also helping them grow. And that means loving people. Loving doesn't always mean allowing. Loving means giving people what they need, not always what they want. Or you can give them both. You can give them what they want and what they need. And I think that's the biggest thing, is going back to the servant leadership. If you're going to be a great leader, you're going to be a servant to other people. And I think that every spiritual, faith-based practice in existence focuses on loving yourself, loving other people. And if you're loving other people, you're going to show up for them in a different way than if you just see them as objects. You just see them as pawns in a little game, or a nuisance that you need to use or get out of the way so you can move forward. So in the most simple way, I would say that's the best way to use whatever spiritual practice it is that you subscribe to. Is there, all those practices are for you to better yourself. And if you're bettering yourself in a way that's pushing other people out of the way, and you're putting yourself above them, then you're just doing it wrong. But if you're bettering yourself in a way that makes you want to collaborate with people, makes you want to see others grow, because you know this, when you help other people grow, you feel better. When you serve other people, you learn more about yourself. When you teach people something, you learn more about the thing that you're teaching. So it's always a win. So if you're looking at it as a win perspective, and that's just going back to even just a business idea, Jim Collins, right? Good to Great. It's all about the win-wins. How many wins can I create in a scenario? And if you are aligned correctly, everybody's going to win. You don't have to lose out because you're helping somebody else win. It's the contrary. You win and they win and other people win. Because if you're being a good person, you're helping somebody else be a good person, then that's going to benefit your family. It's going to benefit their family. It's going to benefit their friends, your friends, their coworkers, your coworkers, because you can't not feel good when you're helping other people. So it just is going to trickle out from there.
How can people find you and reach out to you? I know you do a lot of coaching and work with you and learn more about you.
Sure. Yeah. If you can, my website is leadimpacttransform.com. You can go there, leadimpacttransform.com. All my information is on there. You can schedule a call with me, and I'd love to connect with anybody watching this who wants to talk just for 30 minutes. Let's sit down and chat. And I love finding out what people are all about and learning about them and where they're at. So I'd love to have a conversation with anybody who wants to check in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, and so much golden nuggets for the audience and adding value. And thanks so much, and to your continued success in 2025.
Thank you so much. Same to you. Thanks for having me on.